What is up, and welcome to A Look Behind the Curtain with Chris. This YouTube channel was created to answer the two questions I get the most, which are, is digital marketing real, and are people having success with it? And to really provide a look behind the curtain to the viewer and the people who are interested so that they know really what it takes to get started and some of the actual struggles that are involved in building an online business. I know that it's really popular on social media to see everyone standing in front of fancy sports cars and big houses and flashing cash, travel. But what does it really take to be able to live that lifestyle? And that's what we want to dive into. Those are the stories that we're going to share. And every week I'm going to bring out a new guest, and we're going to dive into, their success, the things that they had to go through to get to it, their story, their journey. And hopefully you, the viewer, can pull some inspiration, motivation, and even some techniques or principles from these stories and apply them into your life and business to have the same results or even better results than the people we're interviewing, or myself, or anyone else in the industry who you've seen and has ultimately brought you to this video. So without further ado, let's kick off the episode.
So it is my honor today to bring out somebody that I have had the privilege to personally get to know, pretty closely over these last year. I've had the opportunity to be a couple events with him. I've had the opportunity to work alongside him and see, the level of skill that he has and how he's able to teach that to students. But I'm going to give you a little bit of true story background on him, bullet points, and then we're going to dive in. So the gentleman I have today is a content creator, a Photoshop-preneur, and a musician, drummer. He actually dropped out of college to start a band and then ended up working 13 years in the corporate world before he linked up with AWOL and started his online business, to which now he is a full-time online content creator, probably one of the best Photoshop people I've ever met. So without further ado, I'd like to bring out Mr. Jason Odell. Welcome, Jason, to the show. Honored to have you, brother.
Yes. Thanks for having me, Chris. This is exciting. I love it. Right
on, brother. So I like to start these episodes with kind of like a quick 5-minute background story. Where do you come from? Is this your first time being an entrepreneur? Just basic backstory.
Okay. Yeah. Just the quick summary of it all was, I've always had that entrepreneurial mindset, and ever since I was a little kid, I think most of us did, but it started for me like when I was a kid. My one of my cousins, she worked for Planners. She actually brought us a box of expired candy, because she was responsible for pulling all the expired candy off the shelves. It was still good, but what we did was I took that box and I saw an opportunity in reselling that candy out to my friends on the playground. So I would, and this is in the 90s, so I had a fanny pack, but I'd put all that candy in I'd put all that candy in my fanny pack, take it to school, and then during recess I'd be selling like the gummy lifesavers, gum, so I was making some money, and I loved it. So fast forward, to probably like the 2000s, I've always tried to start something. I tried to start business with previous like an MLM company back in the day, and so that didn't work out. We always have those experiences like where we taste a little bit of entrepreneurship, and those instances don't work out the way we want them to. And for me, my first couple of entrepreneurial journeys didn't really work out too well, but I kept going. And before and so that's I've had some experience as far as like before AWOL. I've had just a taste of what it was like to be kind of on my own, like trying to build a business. Okay. And yeah.
Sorry, did I cut you off? Did I lose you?
Oh, no, that's
okay.
It.
Yeah. Do you want to maybe just share a little bit about, what led you up to finding AWOL? Like, what was that, that epiphany almost?
Yeah, like I said, I didn't have much success, and I got into that the corporate world, for the last 13 years, and I convinced myself that that was going to be my my career, my life, building upon that. But during that time, I was building for someone else. I wasn't happy. Like, there's a lot of aspects of my job that I did like, but for me, the most part was I felt unfulfilled, and because it wasn't my business, it's not really what I envisioned for myself, and for my future, and especially when I started having my children, I got married, and we have 3 boys now, but that was when I realized that something has to change, because I started seeing my time with them slip away. So yeah, it was a really powerful moment for me, because I want to spend more time with my kids, my wife, and really build on that family structure, and I thought that over that my values changed, to that, and that's where my life is now. And my job wasn't syncing up with that, as where I want it to be. And so yeah, I got in a rut, going through the motions, and when you go through the motions, it causes a lot of stress on, for me, it caused a lot of stress on my family. I was like, unhappy with my job, and it was starting to show, like, when I come home, I'd take out some of my frustrations out on my family, and I didn't want to spend any time with my family, because all my energy, all my just my everything was like, it was just being drained, at work. So I come home and I just wanted to zone out. So I just got to that point to where I was, I would come home and just not want to talk to anyone, not want to do anything, just either binge watch Netflix, or play video games on the PlayStation. And so there wasn't really that interaction. And as after up to that point, when I discovered AWOL, that's where I was. Like, I was just running on, going through the motions,
Yeah, I mean, we've talked quite a bit, and I can completely relate to that. The whole reason, my son being born, and you probably can absolutely relate, it was the line in the sand moment that made me realize that I needed to be more, like you were just saying. Absolutely, dude. So how long have you been full-time online now?
2 years. So
Wow.
I started with AWOL. I actually came across that ad in my newsfeed in about the summer of 2016, and it was it was it was in my Facebook newsfeed, and I saw that it caught my eye. I mean, what Chaos said in that ad really spoke to me, and so I was like, I have to do this. Like, I have to take a chance on this. I'm used to, like, from my previous history, I'm used to taking great leaps of faith, and I have actually a great example of that, by the way. But taking great leaps of faith, and trusting my gut on things, and it was like the best decision that I've ever made. I once I got into it, once I went all in, I never looked back. And so yeah, like, the last 2 years I've been working, going through this amazing journey of the digital marketing, learning more about myself, and becoming the person that I want to be through all the trainings, the personal development side, everything. But yeah, it's quite a ride. I love it.
Yeah, if you'd like to share that before we move on to anything else, I know it's fresh in your mind if you want to share your example.
Yeah. So, well, so in college, I didn't graduate college. I dropped out. And it was because, I wanted to uh, form a band with one of my friends up in Albuquerque. At the time, I was at New Mexico State, and I was actually going through college to be an athletic trainer, and I didn't feel like that was where I wanted to go with it. I just knew, and like I said, I trust my gut, and I was like, this isn't what I want to do. This isn't right for me. And as much as I love sports and training and all that, there's just something that didn't sit right with me. So I took a chance. I dropped out. I took all my stuff. I moved up to Albuquerque and joined a band. And like I said, everything leads to a greater purpose. And I felt like making that decision, led me to this point today. And, so I could have just stayed at school, got a degree, and then, just stayed home and done what I was supposed to do. But I refused to do that. And, and so then on, I'm not scared to take risks. That was one of the biggest risks I've ever taken. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions I ever made.
Cool. Yeah, man, that's a great example. Leaps of faith, it's scary as hell, right? But I completely agree with you. One of the best decisions I ever made. And yeah. It's funny, I didn't realize that you've been online 2 years. I thought that you kind of joined around the same time I did, because you got almost a year on me online.
Yep.
And I remember when I first started getting involved in the AWOL community itself and really diving in, I would see some of your Photoshop stuff that you were doing, and I didn't know it was Photoshop at the time. And there'd be you with Gary V sitting at the table laughing, or just Photoshopped in with celebrities, and I was like, man, I'm like, this guy knows people. I'm like, this is awesome. It was really cool. And then I realized that no, that's a skill that you have mastered. And then I saw some of the work you were doing for clients, and I've even talked to you about doing some work for me with the wolf face thing, because dude, phenomenal. So how long have you been doing Photoshop?
Oh, I've been doing Photoshop for over a decade now. It actually started, I would make flyers. If you if you remember MySpace, yeah. I would make pages for my football team that I played for at that time. So I'd design all this stuff, and it was cool because you actually for that you learned a little bit of that HTML stuff, but all that flew out the window after MySpace. They changed their whole platform, but yeah, I started off with just making some flyers and pages for friends, and then it for years I truly undervalued my skills as a compositionist. Mm-hmm. making these things was me living in my passion. I love doing it, and so I thought that I couldn't make anything from it. I couldn't make an income from it, or really see any value in it. And so I always did stuff for free. And and then after I joined AWOL, after going through a lot of the personal development, I realized that I'm severely undervaluing myself, my skills, and that I can turn my passion into profits. And that's pretty much what I did. That was one of the biggest turning points for me. And that and I've been in AWOL for 2 years. The first year was a learning experience. I made a lot of just those learning, you make mistakes and then you learn from them, basically. That was my whole first year. And then my second year is when I started to see okay, this is really, it started to move. Everything started to move. Everything started to work. And I use my skills as a Photoshopper to help transition myself from the corporate world to actually getting working for myself, doing the compositioning and stuff, but also being a digital marketer.
Yeah.
But it was kind of just one of those like bridges, and so a lot of us do have that ability. A lot of us have skills that or hobbies or something like that that we really love and we're good at,
Mm-hmm.
but we just don't see. We undervalue them. We look past them. We think they're just hobbies are just meant to be hobbies, and for me, I refuse to believe that. But yeah, when looking back, last year when I made the decision to, if you want me to go into this about quitting my job, I made the decision about quitting my job. It was around May of 2018. I went to an event, and actually before that event, what led up to that event was me putting it out there, I'm going to quit my job, and I actually gave myself a specific date of when I wanted to quit my job. And I put it out there. I talked about with my friends, my wife, my friend, my other family members, everyone, people in the online communities, and it was amazing how much support I had, and it just confirmed my intentions, and I put everything into action, and going to this event. It was one of our elite summits that really spoke volumes to me. Like meeting more of the online community, seeing the successful people up on stage, talking with them. And that whole experience, I was like, this is it. This is once I took my skills of video and Photoshop, and after that I made sure that I was able to use those skills after I quit my job too. So I was able to get actually get some local clients, some people online that wanted to use my skills, to help them out. But yeah, so in the middle of the summer, I quit my job, and I just kept going. Like I just kept running with it, and it was, there's a fear. There's a huge fear. Even I had it. When you're like, what do I do after this? When I quit my job, what's going to happen? Am I going to be okay? Is my family going to be okay? Is what I'm doing the right thing to do? Just so all these things start coming into mind, and I think one of the biggest things is trying to manage those fears. You have to make sure that they don't overwhelm you. And I think with everything that I learned from AWOL, it gave me the confidence. It gave me the strength to to push through those fears, and start my entrepreneurial journey like full time. And it was it was pretty it was pretty interesting at first, but I just kept running with it. It was like nothing ever happened. I quit my job, and I actually started really diving into the material of AWOL even further, and going full speed, and actually it's amazing, after getting through those fears and quitting my job, I actually started making more sales. The mastering these skills, the money started to follow. And so it was just like they said, you master, when you master your skills, the money will follow, and that's what happened. And so I've been able to create an income online, and also supply supply that with another, you know, source of income with my skills as a Photoshopper, you know. And yeah, so that's where I'm at today.
Yeah, dude, you hit on two really awesome things I just want to revisit. Money follows mastery, right? Especially, you know, you have every, I wouldn't say that. When you join a community like AWOL and you go all in like you and I have, you have all the resources, tools, and mentors at your disposal, right?
Right.
So the best thing you can do is focus in and master what you already have. And that's a huge thing because so many people, in my opinion, come into this and they just want to make $1 million. They want to have those 5-figure, 6-figure months, which are great. But it takes a level of understanding and a level of commitment to this to get there. It isn't just, I'm going to place $5 a day every day and expect to make $100,000 every month. It's just not how it works.
Right.
To make $100,000 requires a bit more effort and a bit more ad budget. It's just the way the industry works.
Yep.
But I just wanted to hint that again, because to choose mastery over money and don't just chase the paycheck at first, but choose to actually learn the skills, then all of a sudden you'll have more money than you don't even know what to do with, as long as you can manage it properly.
Right.
And another thing that you hit on that I really want to revisit, because I think it's kind of a unique thing for people like you and I who are fathers who did have a family before we got into this. And there's a huge, like you were talking about fear. That's the first thing that clicked in my mind was like, you know, am I going to be able to support my family doing this? Am I going to be putting my family in debt and hurting my family to take this huge leap of faith? And that was definitely something that was rolling in the back of my mind. But I wanted to ask you, what was that epiphany or that moment that you had that finally allowed you to have courage in the face of that fear and be like, you know what? This is the best decision I can make for my family, and we will make it. Like, what was that moment for you?
It was, so last year I remember you know, doing the personal development stuff, you know, in AWOL, especially with values. You know, we train on our values and really, you know, discovering like where our values lie and you know, living our lives to the fullest, you know, through those values. And when so when I was at the gym one day, one of my friends saw, you know, my skills as a Photoshopper on my page. She said, "I love your work. You think you can make a video for our company?" And I said, "Sure." You know, and in my head, this is another example of a leap of faith. You know, because in my head, I'm like, I've never done a video before for any kind of company. I've never created one. But I did it. It was just a 5-minute sales video for them. And it was at that moment, like when I created that video, and I gave them that finished product, something that I was really proud of, something that they appreciated it as well. And you know, they paid me for it. When she handed me that check, and I saw that, like I when I got that check, that was it. Like that was I was like, all right, I can do this. You know, I can do this. This gave me the confidence in my abilities. I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, and then, you know, and that was the starting point right there. Okay. And then when I started seeing, even a little bit before that, you know, for my digital marketing, when I got that first sale online, that was huge. I've done all these different entrepreneurial things, didn't make any money from. I mean, I was in one. I did one thing like this program for 10 years, and I made $8 in 10 years, and then this one I made. You know, my first sale. Of course, it was small, but in one day I made, you know, $53. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. I can actually make money online. You know, it's that saying is true. So I had those two moments, those two. Like I don't have one super defiant. It was that one where I made a sale online and I knew I could do this. I can make an income online. And then the other one, when I received that check, I realized that my skills are valued, and I can also make an income from something that I value, as you know, and I have a passion for. So and I can take those two things and put them together and actually make something, phenomenal, and give back to the online community as well.
Yeah. So that's another thing you just hit there. It's huge, right? So the first sale you get, because it is a huge leap of faith. Myself included. When you look at it from a realistic standpoint, right? So what actually happened was I was sitting in my office one day, completely miserable and crying because my son had just asked me why I never wanted to play with him, and I was just completely wrecked. And then a complete stranger on the internet told me that if I signed up for his free class and downloaded his PDF, that he could completely change my life. And I trusted in the complete stranger on the internet and took a complete leap of faith. Like, when you say it that way in a realistic tone, it makes me sound crazy. But,
Yeah.
On the flip side, in reality, it was, like you had mentioned, the best decision I've ever made.
Yeah.
That leap of faith, though, it gets hard. And then for me, and like you were just hinting to, I worked my butt off for 4 months trying to learn these skills before I ever saw a dime. But when I did finally get it, it was just that absolute validation that I was on the right path.
Yes.
And like our mentors say, if you can make one, you can make two. You can make two, you can make two in a day. You can make two in a day, the sky's the limit. It's just constantly taking to the next level.
Right.
And dude, getting that, and for you, it's kind of unique too, because you have a whole other skill set that you've mastered.
Right.
For you to physically receive a check validating that is something that you are a master of, like, super awesome, man. And I'm so proud of it. Like, that's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, thanks.
One thing I just want to hint on before we move into the next segment too, is that I've watched in the last year as so many people have, thousands of people have joined this community, millions even. And everyone comes in because they want to make money online. But what ends up happening is they get clear on their values, and then all of a sudden they're building in a complete online business and they're waking up every day following their passion, and they're making money.
Right.
You do it. So many others do it. I'm building the veteran organization because of it. Like, there's so many of us that came on, realized this was real, got really clear on ourselves, what we wanted in life, and then took these skills and the money we're making and used it to build something completely different, completely unique, and something that we could be passionate about. And I think
it's very important.
Cool to see all the time.
Yeah, very important to get clear on what your intentions are, what you want to build, what you want to get out of this, because you can easily lose yourself within all of the like it's this ocean of information. You can easily get lost in a lot of information out there, and so you want to make sure that you get clear. And I think that's what AWOL has really put something very well in their trains, very well put together to give you that clarity. And it's not about it's about finding your voice and making your passions your thing, and becoming the person that you're supposed to be, not becoming someone else for someone else. It's you defining yourself and finding that voice that's going to get you to where you want to be.
Yeah.
And stay there.
Yeah. I mean, and you and I get to see it a little bit more clearly working in the intensives. As because, Sandra is a perfect example. Someone who came in, the minute she got clear, within 30 days, made multiple six figures. So in a passion of hers, not even what she showed up for. So, I mean, it's so awesome to see people getting aligned with their values, aligned with their true purpose, and then just taking off. I love that. I just love it. And you had mentioned it with your Photoshop and getting that check, so it was just in my head. But yeah, so we're gonna kind of just transition a bit. I want to really kind of like dive into like some of your biggest hurdles getting started. Like, what were some of the things that was just like that wall you hit, and then how'd you break through that?
It was, I'm a kinesthetic like learner, a visual learner. And so I have to be hands-on. That was one of my biggest hurdles was, you know, I think, and it happens to a lot of us. We're trying to take in all this knowledge and then we don't do anything with it. So when I first started, you know, I was watching these training videos. I was going through everything, but I wasn't putting anything into action because I didn't really, you know, I think that was one of my biggest hurdles was just like, I had to actually see how to actually do it. Like I couldn't visualize it at first, you know? And so I think one of the biggest things for me was, the AWOL affiliate program. Once I got into that, cause in 2016, AWOL didn't even have an affiliate program.
Yeah.
They didn't start that. It was until February of about almost 2 years ago, like from this month. And once I got into that, and I was able to go through like, you know, actually implementing what I learned through the other academies, like, you know, Traffic Academy, you know, setting up my fan page. I had everything set up. I just didn't have an offer, and AOL answered that perfectly with their affiliate promotion. So, you know, once I started implementing that, you know, then everything just started coming together. I was like, you know, and then, you know, that whole earn while you learn is definitely true. Yeah, I mean, my biggest hurdle was just trying to implement, actually like put into action the stuff that I was learning. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, is they don't know how to actually put stuff into action. They, you know, they take in the knowledge. I took in the knowledge and just I let it overwhelm me at first, you know, and I was like, oh, I gotta take a breather. I was like, you know, my head hurt because I was just trying to take in so much stuff, and I wasn't putting it out there. And so yeah, but it's just a matter of time. It's not like, is this going to happen? Like, it's just like, when is it going to happen? And I am a slow learner, so, you know, that was another hurdle. I learn stuff slowly. And
careful with your IMs, brother. Your IMs become reality.
Yeah. And so but now I'm like, so before it was like me being in a China store, you know, and I'm trying to walk through those aisles without breaking anything. I don't want to touch anything. I'm just looking, you know, trying to get through the China. Now I'm like, you know, now it's like the building's on fire and I'm just sprinting through that China store. I don't care if I break anything, you know, but that's the best way I could explain it. Like I was so scared of like just hitting that button and running my first ad and breaking it, you know, stuff that it took me a while to get there. And then once I did, I was just like, now I just hit the button like all the time. And I think, like, you know, you're always going to have that fear, always, you know, of the unknown. Like, is this, you know, should I do this or not? But I say just, you know, act like that China store's on fire and break stuff and just, you know, go full speed. And if something doesn't work, you just go back and review the material and then fix it, you know. Always improve, always be, you know, evolving and working on those, you know, those mistakes or those errors and stuff. And yeah, so you know, those are really my biggest things, was just, you know, getting through all that.
Just implementation, actually taking action on what you were learning. And obviously it sounded like the cure to that was just stuffing the fear down and doing it anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
definitely.
awesome. Fear was something that I dealt with in my life very, very hard. Like I have PTSD. So sometimes my body, my mind takes over and I don't even have control. But what ended up happening for me that was really unique situation is in the third course of the personal development. And I can't give you too much specifics because I don't ever want to take away from what you would experience doing it yourself. But what ended up happening was I had this relationship with fear that was actually crippling me. I was using it as a crutch rather than as an empowerment tool. And what the shift that happened for me back in June while I was there was I ended up meeting a gentleman, and he asked me, why don't I use my fear as fuel? He's like, why don't you use that as fuel? He's like, why don't you use all your other emotions as fuel? He's like, you've learned how to turn anger into fuel. He's like, why can't you use fear? And it, like, something in my mind just went boom. I was like, wait a second, like, I don't have to let that paralyze me. I can actually use that. And from that moment on, like, I literally, like, if I feel fear, I say, feel it, do it anyway. And I just go. I don't let it stop me. And like, you guys know me now, I'm like a bull in a china closet. Like you guys brought up, sometimes I say too much, but yeah, dude, fear is such a huge factor for so many people. And I want to just revisit something because I interrupted you before, and I'm sorry for that. But whenever I hear someone do a negative I am, like affirm themselves into a negative, I'm always like, why are you doing that? Because for so long, I told myself the story that because a doctor told me I wasn't going to be able to learn, read, communicate well, I believed that. And it wasn't until I started in this community and started meeting people who would actually catch the way I was speaking to myself and be like, why are you doing that? Change that. Like, change the wording. And it wasn't until I started actually changing the wording to I am smart. I can communicate. I'm an excellent communicator. I'm a public speaker. Like, I went all out with the I ams, and it actually changed my reality. It changed my ability to, like, I became a better reader, a better communicator. Like, all these things started changing. So whenever I hear someone say I'm a slow learner or I am something negative, I'm always just like, change that I am, change your reality.
Yeah, I think that's a big hurdle is the mindset. Because a lot of people, even business owners, don't really work on mindset. It's all about the numbers, traffic, the money, the revenue, everything. But no one really like realizes, like, if you're not in the right mindset, it can do a lot of damage. And so for me, like, even me, I wasn't the most confident person, very, very reserved, shy at times, quiet. I just didn't want really, I think at one point, I had everything private, my whole life is private. Like, I can't share myself with, strangers and be a part of a community of people I don't know. That's crazy. But now I'm like, looking back, I was like, that was crazy. Like, me holding, like, just living in this box, like, keeping myself, from really, getting, just putting myself out there and being exposed to this new world of information and taking action and everything. It was, that was one of the other thing that I realizing it now, like, that was one of the other obstacles that I did have to overcome, because I've never been on video, like doing this with you right now. I wouldn't have done 2 years ago. I'd be so uncomfortable. I'd be like, and I feel more natural now. I feel like, this is where I want to be. Like, I actually love being on camera and making videos and just, so now, like, my Instagram, my Facebook, they're public profiles. Like, I want people to see me for who I am, be authentic, because, as as a digital marketer, as running my own business, I have nothing to hide, you know, and I want people to see that. I want people to see me for who I really am. And you know, it's all, you know, the mindset it is a very powerful thing. You just have and it's something that you have to constantly work on. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
it's not something that you just you work on a little bit and you think you got, and then you know, you just let it go. You always the mind always tries to go back and, like, you know, like, pull you back into, like, into that place where you were previously. So you have to constantly work at it. And but it's definitely worth it, like, to work on your mindset and to get through, you know, those epiphanies, those hurdles, you know, if you keep at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a great, mindset's everything, really. You know, what separates the successful from the non-successful? Mindset. You know, you could have all the knowledge in the world, you could be a genius, but if you don't have the mindset and the discipline to properly apply it and do the right things, then it's not worth anything. So yeah, mindset's so huge.
Yeah.
In your journey over these last 2 years, what have been some of the things that have absolutely helped you shift that mindset to get you to where you needed to be a successful entrepreneur and to not shoot yourself in the foot or self-sabotage like so many of us do when we start running on old programs?
I think one of the biggest things was the community, um, of, you know, the like-mindedness in the community, people that are a little bit further than where I was at that time. You know, they're familiar with, you know, a lot of the books, the a lot of the trainings, meditations and stuff, like, you know, because I knew nothing about that until I got into the AWOL communities and heard these people talking about these things. And you know, so that level of information, I was like, okay. And I started seeking those out because I'm, you know, I'm one of those resourceful types. I want to seek these things out and actually, you know, find out for myself.
Mhm.
And another thing is in those communities, um these people, like, the positivities through the roof. You know, people build each other up.
Yeah.
Even if you messed up, uh you know, someone's always there to, there's that level of support that you can't find anywhere else. And I mean, even, you know, you and I are part of those groups. Like, we give, you know, we give back to those people, to, you know, the level of support that we give back. You know, we put our time and energy into those groups because we know how valuable they are. And, you know, um I mean, I've gotten through so many things, you know, with my own mindset because of people that I met in those groups that have, you know, have really, like, you know, snapped me out of, you know, my own uh like, just negativity and stuff. And it was really, I mean, there's things that I couldn't have done without them. I think, like, and not so much like saying that, like, the only way I can get through things is with the community. I think that it was a guide. It felt like, you know, it was, I was being guided in the right direction. And then it's like, you know, I was able to then go, you know, realize these things on my own. And but you know, it's, I think the communities are extremely valuable, especially for the mindset. And um another thing is the books, like, the, you know, like, the recommendations of the books, uh meditation, you know, these things really you know, put me on the right path. You know, especially one of my favorite books to read is the Values Factor,
Mm.
you know, by Dr. Demartini. It was, I mean, you know, taking those things, I never read personal development books before in my life. I've read a few fiction books and that was it. But now I'm like taking in all, like, reading all these personal development books, these books on business, you know, and things that are actually going to help me. And personal development, like build me up, and add value to my life. So the community adds value, definitely, and that the books, the trainings add value to that too. It's very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. So it can't even state how monumental reading has been in my success and just my building a good life for myself. You just can't even state it high enough, like how impactful and important it is to putting good things in here.
Yeah.
Knowledge,
Even audio.
motivation, uplifting, stuff like that. And it is absolutely a reason why, when they built AWOL, they made reading one of the pillars.
Yeah.
Because there's no more efficient way other than actually sitting in a room with that person than to gain their knowledge through reading their book. Like there's no other way to gain that level of mentorship from somebody other than to actually sit with them and speak with them, in my opinion. Super huge to, like, I don't know, get someone's whole life in a couple of pages. Sometimes it's big stuff. Have you had the opportunity to read the book? Because you had mentioned it previously in the interview about, worrying a little bit about what other people think, getting on video and stuff like that. Have you ever read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson?
I have the audio book, and so like that's one of my favorites. I listen to that, especially on my drives to Vegas for events. I'll put that on and listen to it. It's pretty good.
So I ended up at the last intensive, I ended up having a gentleman who is very skilled but very reluctant to get onto any kind of camera or video. And I shared with him that, when I first got into this industry and I was doing submitting for funnel reviews. So I was actually only getting in front of other community members. It wasn't even like I was going live on all of Facebook or anything. But I ended up submitting for a funnel review the week prior. And then when I tried to log on to the webinar, it actually promoted me directly to panelist. For those of you who don't know, what Jason and I are sitting on right now, that's a panel. And when you're on Zoom like we are and you're on the panel, your face is seen by everybody.
Yeah.
And I actually ran away from my computer the minute I noticed everyone could see me. That's how scared I was to be on camera, all the people's opinions of me, of all these different fears that we have when we first come in. And that book was a huge factor in me being like, why do I care so much? I'm like, honestly, at the end of the day, I'm the only one that actually cared.
Yeah.
So it was like a really big epiphany awakening, if you will, that, gave me a little bit more courage to just get out there, hit that publish button, hit that go live button, hit that submit button, whatever it may be, and just be authentically me, because that's just the best thing I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, going back to the values factor was, it's really helped me put laser focus on what I need to do, like where I need to put my energy, and get rid of all the other, little shiny objects out there. So I got stuff coming in at all directions. I'm like, nope, this is what I'm focused on. This is where my values lie. And this is where I'm headed. So it's, huge. For me, that book is like one of my biggest contributors to my success.
Yeah.
And just going over the values, the training that we do, working on our values within the courses. When
we were in Vegas last week, did I tell you about the book I just finished, which is really good about that whole shiny object, stay focused, Essentialism?
Yes.
Yeah. So actually, a good friend of mine, a friend of mine, I can't really call him a good friend. I haven't actually seen him in forever. He lives back in New York. Ended up being like one of the first people from back home that signed up in AWOL to join this community. And when I did my phone interview with him, which I do for everybody after they buy, just kind of make sure they're set up for success, he brought this book up to me. And it was kind of weird because I was at a spot in my life where I was trying to get laser focused and not spread myself too thin, because I had just I'd realized that, hey, I've been taking on too much. It's time to get refocused in and really capitalize on what I value.
Right.
And he had mentioned that book to me, and it was like the universe just spoke to me all over again. It's crazy how if you're receptive, it does that. But the book came to me, and it was just like exactly what I needed to hear about being focused on, your purpose, your values, and really just letting everything else go and getting it done. So Essentialism, it's Greg McKeown. I'll also put it into the comment or the description section of this video, so you guys can, anything we talk about book related will also be available down there. So you don't have to go back through the video and try to, write down what we're saying. But it looks like we are coming to the top of the hour, Jason. It always flies fast, man. It always goes by so quick.
I love talking. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah. I can tell. And I love when I get people on here who are as passionate about it as me, because we just go forever.
Yeah.
But I like to close these. I normally will close these out with a 2-part question, but I want to kind of future pace a little bit in this new 2.0 version. So I want to ask you, what is it in the next year that you are looking to accomplish using these skills? Like, what is your goal?
One of my goals is I want to develop my own course. And one thing that me and my wife are working on, because of the skills I learned in AWOL, we're going to put those to use for an Instagram training that my wife is a ninja with the algorithm with Instagram. So we're testing a few things out. I'm the guinea pig. And I think it's important to do that. Like, test it out yourself, just go through it. So we're going through this whole sequence. My goal is to get with this, put a course out for Instagram, to help people increase their following, organic traffic. And so that's one of our goals. So to create that business together. I think that's it's fun. It's fun. It's just fun creating stuff, so that's a direction we're going to go, and I think, with that experience, the sky's, there is no limit, really. I want to create more courses down the road as well, especially for Photoshop, because a lot of people have been asking me for training for Photoshop for content creation. So I want to create some courses on that and help people, get over, one fear of being on camera, also, creating their own content, because that's very important. I think in this day and age, there's a lot of regurgitation, copy and paste stuff that, we're starting to lose our identity. We need to come back to, that authenticity and becoming ourselves and creating, the stuff around that revolves around us, our lives, and that gives more value to other people. So I definitely want to create a course on that. So a lot of course creation in the future.
Cool. And if before I close out the interview with the 2 questions, if someone wanted to reach out to you to get some Photoshop done, how would they reach out to you?
You can email me at thedigitalpathfinder@gmail.com if you are interested in any kind of compositioning. So I do it's all freelance work. So you do have to get a hold of me. I don't have a landing page set up for that specifically. And because most of my landing pages are geared towards more digital marketing, affiliate marketing right now. But yeah, if you email me at thedigitalpathfinder@gmail.com, and I will get back to you.
Perfect. All right, cool. So I'd like to close out these episodes with a 2-part question. I'll tell you both, and then you can roll from there. So The first part is, someone who's skeptical about this industry, about getting started, what would you say to that person? And then the person who is just like on the fence, just needs that little bit of extra encouragement, what would you say to them?
Man, put me on the spot here. All right. So for someone that's skeptical, I use, I tell my experiences, my experience. I was skeptical. I sat there on my bed with that laptop open with my, that ad up, and I didn't know, like, that fear kind of like took over, and I was like, I don't, should I do this? Should I not? Should I do this? And so I fought with that a little bit, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And I think just knowing that, like, it's okay. Like, there's, it's not a, you can't say like, well, it's not like it's not a scam or anything like that. You have to say like, well, it's just, you have to, do you want to do what you're doing? Like what you're doing right now, is that what you want to do the rest of your life? Or are you willing to take a risk for $99 and have your whole life changed? I mean, for $99, it's worth way more than that. And it's, and then I also want to know, like, what are you passionate about? And give examples of what you can do with those passions, how you can turn those passions into profit.
Mm-hmm.
You can, like, I gave examples to people all the time, that, they talk to me, they're all, I want to do this. I'm skeptical. I've always wanted to do this, but I just, and I tell them, well, where are your values? Like, what are you passionate about? And they tell me, and then I give them real examples of, like how they can build a business around what they're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And people that are on the fence, same thing. I ask them what they're passionate about, like how, and I'll give an actual example. One person reached out to me and said, I want to do what you do, but I don't know where to start. And I was like, well, what is one of your hobbies right now? And said, well, I love fitness. I love working out, and I like, I want to help other women, build, I want them to see how I live my life, and be an example for them, and get them through, like, living healthier lives. And I was like, that's perfect. Here's a perfect example. Here's where you can start your entrepreneurial journey. And I mean, it took me 2 minutes, like, actually not even 2 minutes, to go online and find an affiliate offer that she could promote right then and there. Like just get started.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave her the example of Lady Boss, like, just, and I would have never known that if it wasn't for AWOL. But
Yeah.
you can, there's so many things out there. Whatever you're passionate about, it could be cars. There are affiliate offers for cars. So I always give those real examples to those people that are on the fence, so they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that existed. I didn't even know I could do that. And it gives them more confidence when they realize, that realization that they can turn one of their hobbies or something that they really love doing into actual physical work, like that's going to give them, an income. Like, oh my gosh, like that, it's great seeing the reaction
Mm-hmm.
to that, so yeah, like, and so I just tell people, do what you love, and just get up and do something, and find, and if you don't feel like you're passionate about something, look inside yourself, ask why, like, why do I want to do this, and start peeling back those layers until you find, like, that real answer, that deep answer, not those superficial answers like, I just want to make money. Everyone wants to make money. I mean, that's, but it's not going to happen if you're not doing the things you need to do, not doing what you love, and actually taking action. So that's what I would say. I think that's a lot,
I would
but
just
that's a
add
little
one
lot.
more thing to it, which would be clarity. Like, to
Yeah.
get very clear Values Factor is a great book to do that. Just get very clear. Because like you said, a lot of people just want to make more money. Well, here's $5. Congratulations, you just made more money.
Right.
But if you can get really clear on what your value, how much money you want to make to have the lifestyle, how much money you need to make to have the lifestyle you want to live, you can get clarity on all those things. It becomes a million times easier to obtain them.
Right.
Awesome. Well, Jason, thank you for taking your time out of your day today to jump on this interview with me and to share your wisdom and experience with the viewer. I know they are going to gain so much from it, and forever grateful, brother.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Chris. I appreciate it. I'm truly grateful, and I hope that your audience has gotten a lot of value out of this, and I appreciate everyone.
Yeah. And again, the link will be in the description of this video. If you are interested in any kind of Photoshop work, this man is amazing at it. He can, just email him. He could send you a couple of things he's already done, so you can get a real crisp idea of what he can do. But I highly recommend it. If you shoot him an email, see if he can accommodate what you're looking for. And as always, if you gained value from this, please leave a comment in the comment section. What was it that we took away from this? This is really going to help me engineer these interviews going forward to deliver you exactly what you need to hear and the utmost value. So I really appreciate it. And if we piqued your interest, if you want to get started doing what we do, it's very easy. The link will be in the descriptions as well. Just click it. You just download the PDF. It'll, run through that handbook. It'll tell you exactly, the steps that we do, how it all works. And there's a masterclass that's actually accompanied to that. Over 2 hours of more information, diving into that book, really explaining how it all works to you so that you can make an educated decision whether or not this is right for you moving forward. So that all those links will be sitting in the description for you. Thank you so much for taking your time out of viewing this interview, and we will see you next week. Peace.